Hello everyone and welcome. Thanks so much for joining me for Kineo Totara's office hours. Today what we're going to be talking about are resources. They're a very easy to use part of Totara that I don't think a lot of people are utilizing. The more and more clients I work with, I'm finding that people are really interested in using Scorum. They're really interested in using Quiz, all of that good stuff. But they're not as familiar with the resources that are available and don't really even know the difference. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today and kind of get you acquainted with those. A little bit about myself for those of you who don't know. My name is Taylor Craig. I'm a platforms consultant here at Kineo, and my job is to train our clients. And also I get the opportunity to work with potential clients as far as doing demonstrations and answering any questions before you come on board. I also work really closely during implementation with our solution architects. Work really closely with them and make sure that you're trained on the solution that they're outlining for you. So I work with you pretty much every step of the way, all the way throughout your experience here. So I'm glad to have you with me today in office hours. A little bit about office hours. What we do is we do about a 15-minute feature presentation typically. We have done a couple of new format office hours this year, but typically it's about a 15-minute presentation, and then after that we open the floor. So clients only Q&A time. We do post that feature presentation to YouTube for future reference. For those clients of you who are joining us today, if you need a full recording of this that includes your questions or any other question and answer time, please just let me know. I'd be glad to send that to you if you need that recording. We do record the whole session, only post to publicly the 15-minute presentation. So again, let's talk a little bit about Totara Resources. These particular resources, they are built into the system. Part of the system, something that has been there since Moodle. So it's most of the resources are actually Moodle plugins, and there's lots and lots of documentation on them out there at moodle.org. There's actually more information on them now in the Totara docs as well. So lots of good information out there and lots of things that you can do with it, because they all have what we call the HTML editor toolbar at the top. You'll also hear people refer to that as the tiny MCE editor toolbar, and then there's also a newer toolbar out there called the ATTO or ATTO toolbar as well. So several of the different toolbars that you can utilize, basically in a nutshell, makes it very Microsoft wordy. You can do all kinds of stuff as far as formatting, headers, all that good jazz. So you can do all of that. But basically what resources are, in a nutshell, they're different from activities in the sense that you have the ability to just provide static information to your learners. And there's lots of different ways to do that. Activities, they're going to differ in the sense that activities are going to be actual, you're doing something with the learner. The learner's actively engaged, okay? So that's going to be the main difference. You use them for a variety of different reasons. Instead of just posting a PDF up there, which a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with that, you can utilize these different resources to kind of bring that information to life. Basically, you can deliver static content with images, video, audio, any of that information. You can do that inside of Totara, and you've got a one-stop shop editing location. That's going to be one of your major benefits to using the resources built into the system versus just dragging in a bunch of content. Also, more likely, people might click on it. You get a little more tracking capability. You get some completions there. So some different things to consider when looking at resources. So we've got, these are the ones that we're going to feature today. There are quite a few. I do recommend that you go in, take a look at those, explore them, kind of get to know them and be familiar. The ones that we're going to look at, page, book, folder, and glossary. And we're going to take a look at all of those today. So let's go ahead and get into my demo course here. So the first one that we're going to look at today is a page. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's basically a web page. And it's a very rudimentary web page, but still allows you to do basically just deliver some static content. Now, my page is pretty boring here. Didn't have time to whip up a pretty one, but you could put in images, video, audio, text, any of that information that you need to put in. Typically, you're going to use a page when you have some very standardized content that's kind of short. If you have to scroll too much, if this little scrolly bar becomes any shorter than that, at that point you're going to want to use a book, and we're about to talk about a book a little bit as well. But basically, it's a really good way to provide that short burst of information. So using this versus a PDF maybe. One of my biggest proponents for using a page over a PDF is that a PDF, if you have to ever change it or make any adjustments to it, you have to go find the original Word document or whatever document it was. You have to make a change to that original. You have to save that original. You have to then save it as a PDF. Then you have to load the PDF to the system. So that's about 5 different steps that you have to take. If you were to just put that information into a page like this, if you ever need to edit it, you log into Totara, you go to your course, you click edit. So kind of cuts down your clicks a little bit more, and you can do quite a lot of the same stuff, right? So taking a look here really quickly, if we turn our editing on, if we go into the page administration settings, it's really easy to set up. You name it. You can give it a description if you need to. You can choose if the learner sees the description or not. That part's totally up to you. And then you can place that page content in. I mentioned earlier, all of these different resources have what we call the Tiny MCE editor toolbar, HTML editor toolbar. That's what this is up here. So you'll notice that I have the ability to do pre-formatted headings, dependent on theme. A lot of times that is going to be dependent on. I've got my bold, italicize, all my bullet points, all that good stuff. Inserting images, inserting video, inserting any additional embedded files. So if you want to pop in another file or a link to a different file, you can absolutely do that. You've got some different font families, font sizes, all of the things that you can basically do in Microsoft Word, you can do here. One gotcha though, if you're going to be copying and pasting from Word, one thing to keep in mind when doing that is to check the code. Make sure that it's not pulling across a bunch of extraneous extra code. Sometimes that happens. Older versions, it's worse than now. Now it's getting a lot better. But if you want to check the HTML, that's what this little icon is for, edit HTML source. You can click that, flip it over, and it's going to basically show you the coding. So this is pretty clean because it was put into the system. I copied and pasted it, but I used some cleanup tools that are a part of the system, and I can show you those as well. So it's pretty clean tags that I'm seeing. I'm not seeing a whole lot of extra stuff. Sometimes, though, when you copy and paste from Word, you're going to see a whole bunch of code in there, and so you may need to use the cleanup tools, which is going to be what this little guy does, little paintbrush. Typically in Word, your paintbrush is going to be copying formatting. In this case, it's cleaning up messy code. So basically what you can do is you can select the text, tell it to clean it up, and it will clean that text, that code back up. Okay. You can also use this tool here, paste from Word. Basically, it's going to give you this little additional screen. You can copy and paste into this. It will strip out a lot of the formatting, but it's going to clean that code up for you. So you're not going to have that kind of issue. So you won't have any users having any browser view issues at that point. Okay, so just to familiarize yourself with some of those tools, not a bad idea to take a look at. This particular one, it's going to allow you to see it in full screen so that you can do your editing, all of that good stuff. Close it back down, then you can come back down here and save and display. Okay, so the page resource, pretty nice little resource that you can utilize. The next one we're going to take a look at is the book resource. So basically, if you have something like a manual or a guide that you need to provide to your learners, it's not a bad idea to do this in a book structure. One of the main reasons people like to use the book gives you kind of the page turning capability. So it's kind of like having multiple pages but all in one place. So you can break that content up. You can have headers in there, different topics, all of that good stuff as well. Also, the book resource comes along with what we call a table of contents. So you do have a table of contents. Unfortunately, in my theme, it's not displaying very nice, but in most other themes, you would see that table of contents up here, even with the book, so that it's easily utilized by your users as well. So the book is a nice resource, helps you to break up that content. You can always put links inside of it. You can link within it. So you do have the ability to create links and put other documents, link to other documents. Lots of different things that you can do there inside of a book. I have several clients who are using this when they're doing like on-the-job training, things like that, and people need an actual physical manual that they need to take a look at. They use this book. You can also actually, you can print the book. So you can choose to print this chapter or print the book. The learners will see this as well. They print quite nicely. So when you do print them out, you get the table of contents at the top that's clickable. So if they do want to print it but save as a PDF, they do have that ability as well. And they print pretty nice. And they tell you who printed it, when it was printed, all of that good stuff as well. You can, I believe, turn off printing if you don't want people to have that ability. I believe that's a setting as part of the book. Okay, so something to keep in mind, just be aware that it's there. You have the ability to utilize it. The next one we want to take a look at is going to be a folder resource. So the folder resource is exactly what it sounds like. It's an area where you can dump a bunch of files. In this particular folder example, I'm going to actually go back out to the course page so you can see what it looks like out there first. So let's see if we can find the topic that talks about folder. There we go. So here's what it looks like on the course page. Just looks like a link to a folder. They click that, and then they have the ability to access any of the files that are within. So they can access these Word documents, PowerPoints, Excel files. You can put anything in there. As an administrator or as an instructor in the course, you have the ability to edit this folder. You can come in, edit the folder, add in additional files, all of that good stuff. One of the nice things about the folder, let's go back out here to the course page. One of the nice things about this and how you can create these, they're pretty easy to create. You can either do the add an activity or resource and then add those files in one by one, or you do actually have the ability to come in here. Let's see, I've got a zip folder right here. And you have this zip folder, right? So I'm going to grab my zip folder, drag and drop it in. It's going to ask me how I want to do this. Do I want to unzip the files and create a folder? Do I want to create a file resource? So basically it's just going to create all of those files, however many that are in this folder it's going to create. Or if it's a SCORM package, I can add a SCORM. So you've seen me do the SCORM, but we want to unzip and create a folder. So we're going to say upload. So it's going to go ahead and unzip that, and then I'm able to see all of my documents. Okay, so just something to keep in mind that you have the ability to do that. Really easy to do, really easy to add into the system if you have a bunch of files that you need to deliver to people. Folks will be able to click on those files then and download them. That's how that's going to work. That's how those are going to view. Okay. If you need them to view in a different manner, you do have the ability to use the file resource, which is available and something that you can utilize there. Okay. Let's talk finally about the glossary. So glossary, in my opinion, is a very underutilized tool inside of the system because people see glossary and they think, we don't need that. It's just a definition of terms. And you're right. That's one of the use cases of glossary, is use it as a definition of terms. So if we look at this particular one, this is the prime example of what you would expect. Here's a definition of assignment, definition of chat, definition of feedback. We've got some links in here. So that is what that is. One thing to keep in mind, though, that's a really nice tool in the fact that you have the ability to utilize what we call filters inside of a course. Those filters are going to be located underneath course administration and filters. One of my very favoriteest filters is going to not be turned on this site. So that shows how favorite it is. Let's take a look underneath our system administration. We'll turn that on real quick. So site administration, and it's going to be located, I believe, under plugins, filters. Yeah, manage filters. Well, let's get that turned on so that we can use it. So the one that I want to use is going to be glossary auto linking. It needs to be set to off but available. That's the one we want. Now let's go over here and refresh this screen. So there we go. There's my favorite one. So we're going to turn this on. Actually, wrong one. There it is. We're going to turn this one on. and we're going to save those changes. So what this is going to do is inside of this course, and this course only, it's not going to affect any other course because we've just turned it on just inside of this one course, but anywhere where it sees that word, so if it sees any of the words that are defined in the course, then you will see that particular word become a link, and then basically you get a nice little pop-up explaining what that particular word means. So really kind of a nice feature that you have available to you, so we got to maybe make sure assignment has auto-linking turned on. There we go. There we go. This should be automatically linked. We don't have them turned on inside of this course. So now let's go back out. There we go. So see how now we see assignment is automatically linked. When I click on that, it's going to give me a pop-up, and it's going to give me the definition right there in front of me. So that's one of the good uses of a glossary. I've had a couple of clients choose to utilize this when they're doing things like on-the-job training. They're maybe giving them a list of tasks that they need to know how to do. They may need to have a definition of what that task is. And if you can put that definition right at their fingertips, they're more likely to utilize that glossary and maybe not even realize that they're utilizing it. So that's one use for glossary. Glossary also has a format called frequently asked questions, which is the FAQ version. Basically, you can type in the question, then you give the answer. So it's going to give you this format for you, so question, answer format. So that's one of the formats that you have available. I've also had other clients utilize the glossary as a way to house like procedural documents because it is searchable. So you have the ability to search that, and you also have the ability to attach things like PDFs to the different terms. So I use air quotes around terms because you may not actually be linking to a term, but you may be linking to a procedure or something along that line. So they have the ability to search that. They can browse it by category, date, author, all of that good stuff, and then you can also attach an actual PDF to the term or the procedure. So lots of different uses for glossary. I think a lot of times it's underutilized because people don't realize the ability that it has. You also have the ability to basically allow users to also utilize the glossary in a more activity-like fashion as well, where they can participate in building the glossary as well. So lots of things there to consider. Want you to just be aware of the different resources available. Don't think a lot of people are super aware of what they are and what they can do, and just wanted to bring that kind of stuff to your attention. So thanks so much, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you if you have any questions.